All right, let's get started with today's deep dive. We're going to be taking a closer look at Zen Technologies.
Okay.
This is an Indian company that's really been making some big moves in the defense tech world.
Yeah, that's right, they are.
Specifically, they're known for their work on anti-drone technology and training solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And their recent financials, well, they've certainly got people talking, that's for
Oh,
sure.
definitely. They're making waves for sure.
So to get a handle on all this, we've got a pretty good pile of material here.
Yeah.
Press releases, financial statements, and even some notes from their latest board meeting.
Good mix.
And, our goal today is to, sort of break it all down, make
Yeah.
sense of what it all means, both for the company itself and for anyone who's keeping an eye on them.
Absolutely. And I think there are going to be some pretty interesting takeaways here for sure.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Zen Technologies just dropped their Q2 FY25 results. And, well, to put it simply, they crushed it.
Yeah, they did.
We're talking revenue skyrocketing by 277% year over year,
Incredible, right?
reaching a cool euro 241.69 crores. I mean, that's massive.
It's a huge jump for sure.
But here's the thing. They didn't just stop at revenue growth. They actually managed to supercharge their profits, too.
Uh-huh.
We're talking a 276% surge in profit after tax hitting 65.24 crores.
Yeah. And that's not just good. That's
It's phenomenal.
phenomenal,
But
exactly.
hold on, because it gets even more impressive.
Oh,
They've already blown past their total FY24 revenue and profit in just the first half of FY25. I mean, that kind of momentum, you just don't see that every day.
yeah. Especially not in an industry like this. It's pretty remarkable.
So how are they doing it?
Well, a big part of it is this sort of global push towards military modernization that we've been seeing.
Oh, okay.
Countries all over the world, they're trying to upgrade their defense systems and, Zen Technologies. They're right there to capitalize on that.
Yeah, they're definitely in the right place at the right time, it seems like.
Ab-
And of course, to really make the most of this kind of opportunity, you need fuel, right?
Right.
Well, they recently completed a qualified institutional placement, a QIP,
Mm-hmm.
and managed to raise a cool 1,000 crores.
That's not an insignificant sum.
Not at all. And get this, the offering was actually oversubscribed by 5 times.
Wow, so the market's really confident in them, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so. And some pretty big names jumped in on this QIP too. We're talking Kotak Mutual Fund, Motilal Oswal, White Oak Offshore.
Those are some serious players.
Yeah, they're clearly seeing something special in Zen Technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of special, well, their financial strength is pretty remarkable too. As of September 30th, 2024, they're sitting on a hefty 11,103 crores in cash.
That's a nice little cushion to have.
Right. That gives them a ton of flexibility.
Oh, absolutely. They could really invest heavily in research and development, make sure they're staying ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Or they could use that cash to go out and acquire other companies, expand their reach, build up their capabilities.
That's true, and they've actually hinted that they're planning on doing both.
Really? So they're going for the two-pronged approach.
Exactly. Organic growth through their own development, and then inorganic growth by acquiring other companies.
Interesting. So they're really going all in on growth, huh?
They are, and what's particularly interesting is they specifically called out simulator and electronic warfare technologies as potential acquisition targets.
So that's definitely something to keep an eye on then.
Absolutely.
Sounds like they're really positioning themselves to be a major force in those markets.
They are, and then if you look at their current order book, well, that's looking pretty optimistic too. It's sitting at a cool 956.74 crores.
Okay, so that's a pretty healthy pipeline of future revenue then.
It is, which means all signs point to continued success for Zen Technologies. But of course, to really understand their potential, we got to dig into the details of their financial performance.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
All right, so let's start with sales in Q2 FY25. They hit 241.69 crores.
Okay, and how does that compare to the previous quarter?
Well, in Q1 FY25, they actually reported 253.96 crores in sales, so there was a bit of a dip.
A dip, huh? Interesting.
But here's the thing. When you compare it to the same quarter last year, the growth is still mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
They only recorded 64.03 crores in sales in Q2 FY24, so even with that slight dip, they're still experiencing massive growth.
Yeah, okay. That puts it in perspective.
So their sales are clearly on an upward trajectory overall. What about their operational EBITDA? I know that's a key measure of profitability.
Yeah, it basically tells us how much profit they're making from their core operations,
Yeah.
before you factor in things like interest and taxes. And for Q2 FY25, their operational EBITDA came in at 79.42 crores.
Okay, and is that a good number?
It's a healthy figure for sure, especially when you consider their operational EBITDA margin.
Margin. For those of us who don't speak fluent finance, can you explain that?
Oh, sure. No problem. Margin is basically just the percentage of revenue that actually translates into profit. So in their case, for Q2 FY25, their operational EBITDA margin is 32.86%, which means for every rupee they bring in revenue, roughly 33 pays is profit before interest and taxes.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty good, right?
It's a solid margin, yeah.
And how does that compare to the previous quarters?
Well, it's a little lower than Q1 FY25, where they hit a margin of 40.64%. But, Q1 was kind of an exceptional quarter. If you look back at Q2 FY24, their margin was 33.98%.
Oh, so pretty consistent then.
Yeah, they've been remarkably consistent in their ability to generate healthy margins.
Okay, so their core operations are running smoothly. What about their bottom line? What's their profit after tax, their PT looking like?
Well, for Q2 FY25, their PT reached a very impressive euro 65.24 crores,
Wow.
which is significantly higher than the 17.34 crores they reported in Q2 FY24.
Okay, so a big jump there.
Yeah, and even compared to the previous quarter's 74.1 crores, the profit is still strong.
All right, so those are some pretty impressive numbers, but what about earnings per share, EPS? That's something investors always pay close attention to, right?
Oh, absolutely. EPS is basically telling us how much profit is attributed to each outstanding share of the company's stock.
Okay.
So the higher the EPS, the more profitable the company is considered to be. And for Q2 FY25, basic EPS came in at 7.56, and diluted EPS also landed at 7.56.
7.56. Okay. And what does that actually mean for the average investor?
So basically, it means that the company is generating 7.56 in profit for every share of stock that's out there,
Right.
which is significantly higher than the 2.08 they reported in Q2 FY24.
Oh, wow. So that's a big increase.
Yeah, it's a testament to their strong financial performance, and it also reflects those recent share allotments from that successful QIP we were talking about earlier.
So their sales are up, profits are soaring, and their earnings per share are on the rise. It's safe to say that Zen Technologies is on a roll.
They are indeed, but remember, we're just scratching the surface here. There's a lot more to uncover about their growth strategy, the potential challenges they might face, and the exciting opportunities that lie ahead.
Well, stay tuned, folks. We'll be back after a quick word from our sponsor to continue our deep dive into the fascinating world of Zen Technologies.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Zen Technologies. Before the break, we were digging into their really impressive Q2 FY25 financials.
Yeah, some really strong numbers there.
But now I want to shift gears a bit and focus on their growth plans. They've made it clear they're going for both organic growth and growth through strategic acquisitions.
Right, a two-pronged approach.
But what does that actually look like in action? I mean, where do we see that in the numbers?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. If you take a close look at their financial statements, you can actually see this strategy playing out. For instance, their cash flow statement for the half year that ended September 30th, 2024, shows a pretty significant investment in property, plant, and equipment.
Okay, so you're talking about that 94.24 crores outflow for purchasing property, plant, and equipment. That's a lot of money.
It is, and it tells us that they're not messing around. They're serious about expanding their production capacity and really building for the future.
Yeah, they're not just sitting on that cash, they're putting it to work.
Exactly. They're investing in the infrastructure they need to support that organic growth. Could be new factories, more land, or even just upgrading existing facilities to handle increased production demands.
So they're laying the groundwork for future growth. That's pretty exciting. But what about the acquisitions? Do we see any clues about potential targets in these financial statements?
Well, they don't actually name any specific companies in the statements,
Right.
but they do give us some valuable hints. Remember, they specifically mentioned simulator and electronic warfare technologies as areas of interest for acquisitions. Now, combine that with their, pretty impressive cash position, that a little 1,103 crores, and their very clear intention to pursue acquisitions. It paints a pretty clear picture. They're definitely on the hunt for companies that can strengthen their position in those areas.
So we might be seeing some big moves from Zen Technologies in the coming quarters.
It's certainly possible. They're playing their cards close to the chest, but the signals are there.
It's like a corporate game of chess trying to predict their next move. So any guesses on what types of companies they might be targeting?
Well, it's all speculation at this point.
Yeah.
But if I had to put on my analyst hat for a minute,
Uh-huh.
I'd say they're probably looking at companies that can either improve their existing offerings or open up brand new markets for them.
Makes sense.
So they could be specialized simulator manufacturers, companies with really advanced electronic warfare tech, or even businesses that offer complementary services like training or maintenance.
Right. So acquiring a company that already has a foothold in those markets could give them a huge advantage.
Exactly. It's a shortcut to growth, in a way.
But acquisitions can be risky too, right? What are some of the challenges they might run into?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Acquisitions are definitely not without their risks. One of the biggest hurdles is integration. Bringing together different company cultures, systems, processes, it can be a real headache, and it takes time.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just buying a company and expecting everything to mesh perfectly.
Not at all. It's
Hmm.
more like trying to fit puzzle pieces from different puzzles together. You're going to have to do some forcing and adjusting to make it work.
So what other risks should they be watching out for?
Well, there's always the risk of overpaying for an acquisition
Uh,
or running into unforeseen liabilities down the road,
yeah.
hidden problems that don't surface until after the deal is done.
Yikes.
So, thorough due diligence is absolutely crucial. They need to really scrutinize the financial health, the legal standing, and the operational efficiency of any potential target.
Okay, so it's a balancing act. They need to be aggressive in going after growth, but also cautious and strategic in their approach to acquisitions. And they can't forget about their core business either. Maintaining that incredible growth momentum while also integrating new acquisitions. That takes strong leadership and flawless execution.
It does. It's a lot to juggle. But if they can pull it off, the rewards could be massive.
Yeah, a successful acquisition strategy could really launch them to a whole new level of success in the global defense market.
No question about it.
It's pretty exciting to think about the possibilities. Okay, so we've talked big picture stuff, but let's get back into those nitty-gritty financial figures for a second. Anything else that jumps out at you when you're looking at the details?
Yeah, there is actually one thing that caught my eye. When you look at their standalone financials for the half year that ended September 30th, 2024, their cost of materials consumed has gone up quite a bit compared to the same period last year.
Okay, I see it here. It's almost doubled from 4,231.76 lakhs to 24,030.08 lakhs. That's a huge increase.
Yeah, it's significant, and it really highlights the pressures of scaling up this quickly. Increased production means they're using more raw materials and components, which
Hmm.
of course drives up costs.
Right, it's the classic supply and demand issue. As they grow and produce more, their demand for materials goes up, which can push prices higher.
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this going forward. Can they find ways to be more efficient in their supply chain
Mm-hmm.
to maybe offset those rising costs,
Uh-huh.
or will they have to adjust their pricing to maintain those healthy margins?
That's the big question. It's a tough balancing act, managing costs, staying competitive, and keeping those profits rolling in.
It is. But if anyone can navigate those challenges, I think it's a company like Zen Technologies. They've got a strong track record and a really ambitious vision.
Yeah, they've definitely proven they can adapt and innovate.
Mm.
So as they move into this next phase of growth, it'll be fascinating to watch how they use their strength to tackle these new challenges and capitalize on the opportunities that are out there.
Agreed. They're definitely a company to watch.
So we've covered a lot of ground today: their financial performance, their growth strategy, and even some of the challenges they might face as they continue to grow.
We've done a pretty deep dive.
But before we wrap things up, we need to look ahead. What does the future hold for Zen Technologies? What potential roadblocks might they encounter on their journey to the top?
That's a great question, and one that we'll definitely dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back to explore what the future holds for Zen Technologies. All right, we're back for the final part of our Zen Technologies deep dive. We've gone over their financials, we've looked at their growth strategy.
We've really dug in.
Now it's time to kind of look ahead.
Right.
What does the future hold for this company?
Well, one thing's for sure. They're in a sector that's just booming right now. Global military spending is going up,
Mm-hmm.
driven by all sorts of geopolitical tensions and, the need for these really advanced defense technologies. So the demand for cutting-edge systems like the kind of anti-drone solutions and those sophisticated training simulators that Zen Technologies specializes in, well, that demand's only going to get bigger in the years to come.
So they've definitely got momentum on their side with the right products at the right time. But that doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing all the way right.
What are some of the challenges they might run into as they try to navigate this really complex landscape?
Oh, yeah. The defense industry is not for the faint of heart. It's a tough business. It's heavily regulated with these really long and often unpredictable sales cycles. I mean, deals can take months, even years to finalize.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then there's always the geopolitical stuff going on in the background that can really throw a wrench in the works.
Yeah.
Zen Technology is going to have to be really smart about how they handle all of this.
Right. So it's not just about having great technology. It's about knowing how to play the game, how to operate in this complex and constantly changing environment.
Mm.
What else should they be prepared for?
Well, competition's another big one. They're not the only company trying to get a piece of the defense tech market.
Right.
They're up against these huge established defense companies with tons of money and a global reach.
Yeah, those guys are tough to compete with. They are. And then you've got all these nimble startups too hungry to disrupt the industry. So Zen Technologies is kind of caught in the middle there.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess. They've got to be thinking several moves ahead.
That's a great way to put it. They need to anticipate their opponent's moves while also planning their own strategic attack. They have to be agile, adaptable, always one step ahead of the game.
So being able to adapt and respond to those unexpected challenges is really key to their long-term success.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They can't just rest on their laurels. They have to keep innovating and really stay focused on what their customers need. That's how they're going to stay ahead of the curve.
All right, so we've talked about the opportunities, we've talked about the challenges. Taking all that into account, what's your overall assessment of Zen Technologies' future? Are they in a good position to ride this wave of growth in the defense tech sector?
I'd say they have a lot going for them. They've got great financial performance, a clear and ambitious growth strategy, and they're operating in a market that's only getting bigger.
Mm.
But they can't let up for a second. They have to stay focused on execution, navigate the complexities of the defense industry, and just keep outmaneuvering the competition. If they can do all that, I think their future is incredibly bright.
Sounds like it's a high-stakes game, but Zen Technologies is definitely up for the challenge. They're a company to watch, for sure.
Agreed. Their journey is far from over, and I think it's going to be a really exciting one to follow.
So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on them, and we'll be sure to revisit Zen Technologies in future deep dives as things develop. But for now, we've reached the end of our exploration.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating deep dive.
It has, and thanks to everyone for joining us. We hope you found it insightful.
And maybe even a little bit thrilling.
Until next time, keep those brains engaged and that curiosity piqued.